Morning and welcome to Upfront with John Baptiste on AM 970 WSTX. Wow, just like that, I'm here with you this morning. I am. And it's good to be here. I want to welcome all of you who are currently connected with us by whatever means, whatever medium. We want to welcome you. It's good to have you on board with us. What a day, a beautiful day. It is a day that the Lord has made. I'm so happy to be alive and well and to continue on this earthbound journey to navigate, the terrain, whatever it presents to me. I always see opportunities. Every new day presents opportunities for all kinds of engagements. I'm always hoping that I'm ready, charged, and, prepared to embrace whatever comes before me. Wow, a number of things I want to touch upon this morning. But before I even move into the more mundane matters, I would like to again say publicly that I believe in a Creator Most High who has created all that we see and even that which we do not see. And He has placed us, humankind, on earth for a purpose, for a time certain, as it is written in Scripture. It is appointed unto man once to die, and after this, the judgment. So we are here for a period of time, and some scriptures actually specify the number of years given to us. Generally speaking, in Genesis, in the book of Genesis, it says that 120 years have been given to us. And we understand that Moses, the great lawgiver, actually was alive on earth up to the 120th year, upon which the Lord asked him to go to Mount Nebo, where he would be either taken or somehow, he was no longer going to be alive and walking the earth. Of course, as we moved into the book of Psalms, the psalmist says, the days of our years shall be 80 and 10, which makes it 70. And so people have accepted that. We're given a period of 70 years, more or less. But I prefer to stick to the 120-year span given to us in the early chapters of the book of Genesis. Notwithstanding all of that, all kinds of instructions, directives have been given to mankind through various means. And so we come to a point where we have a number of sacred writings or designated sacred writings, not just the Bible, but other books that we're told are sacred writings, revelations from the Creator, instructions from the Creator given to us through human emissaries, if I may use that expression. And so when we look at the world today and what's happening all around us in the world, in the global arena, and we try to see how the sacred writings relate to what's going on, I think we would agree that perhaps the Bible is the one that appears in a more specific fashion to touch upon what's happening. And so I want to just share a few things with you, my audience, those who are viewing as well as those who are listening. I want to share a few determinations if I may call it that, determinations that I've made, conclusions I've arrived at. And I want to point out specifically the two books of the Bible, the book of Corinthians and the book of Revelation. The book of Corinthians, 1 Corinthians chapter 13, presents to us a description of love, how love operates, charity, if I may. It tells you, or it gives you the characterization of love in action. That's in the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 13. And in the book of Revelation, in the book of Revelation, chapter 13, both chapters, chapter 13 of the respective books, chapter 13 of Revelation speaks of a number of beasts and the dragon and their operations on earth during the end times. And as I look at that, I'd like to get some take from some measure from you, my audience, my viewers, if you may, in terms of what you make of those two chapters of the Bible before I get into it. I'd like to hear what you have to share, because I think that Revelation chapter 13 in particular is very relevant in terms of what's happening in the earth today. So for those of you who want to call and share with us, our numbers are 773-0390 and 773-0490. I do have somebody on the line. Let me hear what this person has to share.
Please enter your remote access code.
Hello. All right, I've lost the individual. 773-0390, 773-0490, the numbers to call. Hello, caller. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning to you and welcome to the program. How are you doing this morning?
I am blessed for another sunrise in paradise. I'm giving thanks and praises to my goddess of love.
I hear you.
For always being present with me every step of my earthly journey. Well, we need spiritual enlightenment these days to keep the faith, because you heard about the demonstration this weekend, Saturday.
I heard about the demonstration or the protest, sort of. And I want to just mention that was carried out several places on the mainland and in at least 2 Caribbean jurisdictions.
Oh, really? Which 2?
Well, I understand that we had a demonstration here in the Virgin Islands, and I also saw one on the island of St. Lucia.
Oh, yeah? I didn't know that.
Yes.
Well, it shows solidarity. I wish we had more participants in the Caribbean, the U.S. Virgin Islands, this part of the United States. Some people claim it's not, but we know it's not physically part of the continent, not America. However, we are under the U.S. flag. And although we don't vote for the president, he's the president for the United States. Which includes the 5 unincorporated territories and the 50 states. And wherever policies, laws that are implemented through the Trump regime will have a direct impact on us. I heard them get criticized, the demonstrators, for doing this, because some people claim we don't vote for the president. That is such a ridiculous statement. Whether we vote for the president or not, he said the president, he presides over the territories, United States territories, and we should, any injustice taking place anywhere, it's injustice everywhere, right? What's the statement by, what's his name now? Martin Luther King, he made some quote like that, right? So we need to participate, because now I know you're talking about the Bible and the prophecies and so forth. I've heard about Armageddon and all that. Well, none of us know the future, but we could prophesize based on past events, based on recent history. The United States, Israel, and Argentina voted against a resolution to declare slavery as one of the biggest acts of inhumanity. You saw that?
Yeah, I think we spoke about it on our radio program on Friday evening. We touched upon that briefly.
So I would have think they would have more support, but instead I'm hearing some people here in the Virgin Islands, particularly St. Croix, who harshly criticize the demonstrators. And I'm like, that's ridiculous, because it's all of us in this thing together, regardless of your color, your creed, or your culture. We all in this together. it could impact things like our fuel supply. And I know with the WAPA situation, you get a lot of push back. But we've been discussing issues forever. And yes, I'm not against nobody demonstrating, protesting against WAPA. Let out your frustration. But when it reaches the point when the only thing they negatively impact is your health, I think that's why people are not going out there anymore like they used to. Remember, you saw a lot of WAPA demonstrations?
Mm-hmm.
Remember that?
I do.
People stop. People blood pressure going up high, and they wasn't making a dent because in the fuel class, we've been promised, and I'm optimistic. Yeah, with all the solar farms, eventually we will see a reduction in the fuel. WAPA bills. But in the meantime, what are the senators doing to remedy the situation? I feel, besides just protesting as people's right against WAPA, let's talk about ideas. Let's discuss some ideas. And I'm not hearing from prospective aspirants. You know, I know it's early, but still, people are not going to know who you are if it's just a short time to campaign. And as an aspirant, you have to get your message out early because incumbents have the edge already. They are household names. I hear people say, don't vote for people that you know. Well, would you vote for somebody you don't know? Does that make sense?
It depends. It depends.
When I say, well, how you get to know them? They got a campaign, right?
You've got to hear listen to the message.
Well, that's why I'm talking. If you were hearing from them, and then only a few weeks before the campaign, suddenly they start talking. It's too late.
Well,
calling to shows. They should be out there building rally and support. You don't have to wait until you pick up any nomination paper. Show people that you care, you involved. And I'm seeing, I don't know, let me ask you, since you actually been in the lawmaking business, is there any law that says you cannot collect donations for campaign before officially being placed on the ballot?
No, not as far as I know. And let me just clarify that. Some persons have established campaign committees,
Right.
and those committees, they continue to engage in fundraising activities, whether it is the political campaign season or an off year. They continue to engage in activities get towards raising funds. Other than that, people generally can, engage in activities to raise funds for all kinds of purposes. Sometimes you may be required to get a license to do so, but there is not a lot.
Permit, right?
Let me hear that.
Or at least a permit.
Right.
Right.
Right. And so, not that one cannot. If one has intentions of running for the Senate, one can begin to put in place the required mechanism to begin to engage in fundraising activities. Whether it is, and again, you just have to go to a licensing and consumer, find out what's required, and if you have to get a permit to do so, you do it.
Yeah, because I heard a member of the Board of Election criticizing, she only singled out one person who is soliciting donation via Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, everybody's entitled to an opinion. I said, rather than opining, why not, as a member of the Board of Election, get familiar with the election laws and focus on educating the people.
Yeah.
You're entitled to your opinion, but you put too much energy and your personal feelings towards particular candidate. You're being biased, in my opinion.
Well, by right,
what the law is.
There may be an element of bias, but by law, if one intends to run for public office and one is going to receive funds to finance the campaign, there is a mechanism that needs to be followed, and that is to have
a committee, right?
Right, and so the committee would have to be duly registered with the Board of Elections, and because even the bank would ask for that.
But don't you set up the committee after you have been vetted as a candidate and by the supervisor of election?
Usually that is done after you have been vetted and
so this is what I'm talking about with the law. If the law have loopholes, people will take advantage of it, because I'm seeing several food sales going on now for prospective candidates. Most of them gubernatorial.
But by law again, even though you're a prospective candidate and you've not given any intentions to the Board of Elections, you still have an obligation to go to Consumer Affairs.
Right, I understand. And that's what I'm talking about. You educate the public. But a lot of members of the Board of Elections, all they do is opine and cast doubt on the election system and compromise the integrity of the board. And I'm saying, you're doing it, you're educating people. And that's what I wish they were doing, to educate people. Because one little opinion, and then those people running with it and singling out particular candidate, but we don't know if they went to consumer, if they have a license. We don't know the situation. But the law as it is, if you got to report to the election system once you set up a committee. But some people are interpreting the law to mean a political party. And the law doesn't specifically say political party. Because you don't establish a political party just to raise funds. It's already established. And the party itself is not running. You have several members of the party may be running for different positions. So each one, I'm not saying no political party. We know the established parties here. We know which one is the dominant one. And you're going to have members from various parties running. The individual, the candidate is the one that creates a political committee. So when I hear that the supervisor of the election is being sued by an individual because of some alleged violation of campaign donation law, I smile to myself because I'm like, I read the law. And that law says nothing about political parties. It just says establish a political committee, right? For fundraising. And so my point is, each person from whatever party is responsible for establishing that committee, correct? And they have to set up a bank account. I know because I ran. I ran twice for public office. I wasn't successful, but I discovered I'm not a politician. It's not my calling. My calling is to educate, so I'm good.
Well, hold a second, because a few things need clarification here. The law limits how much you can receive from an individual or even a group during an election cycle. In other words, it can be a donation or contribution of no more than $1,000. Um, beyond that, it's a violation of law.
Right.
You know, so people need
But
to
you
be.
can receive, that's what I'm saying, you can receive a donation from the party,
Mhm,
from a party,
mhm. But
but
hear me,
the party doesn't report it. And
but
you, the candidate, have to report that you received the donation from the
right,
party.
but yes, but hear me out. An individual can come to a candidate or prospective candidate and offer that person, whether you want to call it a contribution, donation, assistance, whatever, you can give that person $5,000 as an assistance, a help, a loan. It would have to be qualified as exactly what it is. Now, that individual has a responsibility to either declare this as income because you're getting $5,000 from an individual, then your responsibility is to report to the IRS that you received during the course of the year a $5,000 gift or whatever you choose to call it. Now you, of course, if you call it a gift and you're going to report that to the IRS, that's a gift you received. You can use your gift how you so choose to use it. So you can use your
That's why some of them
$5,000.
run for that reason.
Let me hear that.
Some people run for that reason.
Uh-huh.
So they could boost their business
Okay.
and collect,
But I'm just saying,
income.
I'm just saying that money collected must be declared in one way or the other. You have to let the authorities know the source of the income and what it was used for.
See, that's why I like talking to you because you educate.
Hmm.
And that's the meaning word. Income is coming in.
Yeah.
It's coming in to you.
Hmm.
And you have to report income.
That's right.
The Bureau of Internal Revenue.
Hmm.
And so I am saying those people who are out there who don't collecting donations and they putting out their message,
Uh-huh.
they have a head start.
Hmm.
And the aspirants, especially those who have never run at all
Hmm.
for any public office,
Hmm.
your silence is deafening on the issues.
Hmm.
Talking about problems, we all don't know. I think you identify. I asked you the question already. What are the 5 most important issues that need to be addressed
Hmm.
by the Virgin Islands government?
Hmm.
You answer that, right?
Yes, we have discussed that in the past.
And this issue with the GRS
Hmm.
has always been a major one. And we discuss it because we know if it wasn't for your vote, you might never have the DRG deal.
Hmm.
Okay?
Hmm.
I could never emphasize that enough. So I really appreciate your service and your continued commitment to making the Virgin Islands of the United States a better place.
Hmm.
So I'm hearing that.
But hold on. Let me just interject something here. I mean, we talk about rum cover over the Diageo deal and how that has been used or utilized rather to show up the retirement system. But I also want folks to understand that we also have the 2000, I think it was 2004, 2005 reform bill to reform the retirement system. And that, of course, that's another thing I was involved with, where we established the tier 1 and tier 2 in the system. So, and then following that, we also had the pension obligation bond legislation that again I was instrumental in dealing with that. So when it comes to the retirement system of the government of the Virgin Islands, I've been on that ball for quite some time. I've taken several steps to try and address the this the well-being of the system, if I may. So that's something I've been committed to.
Yeah, that's why I said I wish aspirants don't wait until the last minute
Hmm.
because you're not an official candidate until you're vetted
Yeah.
and your qualifications are verified.
Mm-hmm.
So I would hope people will call into your show who's thinking about it so we could get to know.
Mm-hmm.
The more run, the barrier.
Mm-hmm.
I know the list is growing longer for gubernatorial teams.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind that because I want to listen. I'm open.
Mm-hmm.
But this focus on bashing Democrats, we need to move away from that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, like that's what I was saying the last time when I said small minds talk about people. That's like talking about instead of focusing on issues. Of course, when you focus on issues, you got sometimes mention.
Mm-hmm.
We will talk about something, you got to mention the governor's name. I don't mean it like that,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean focus on the issues because if you are well informed, you make better decisions. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing, like I told you last week, against a supervisor election with this thing. But that's good. That's a good thing. If you don't understand the law or you interpret it a different way, take the matter to court.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I wonder, the legislature have never sued the governor, right? To your knowledge.
I'm not aware of that, but I don't think it's appropriate for the legislature to
Exactly.
to sue the
Because they're
executive
the
branch.
lawmakers and they could repeal laws.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like when it came to the raising.
Mm-hmm.
They're the one made that commission, salary commission or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They could create commissions and they could break down commissions.
Yeah,
because
let me
they're the lawmakers.
allow me to say that we have had the case of individual senators acting in the capacity of a parent or a concerned citizen. Taking a matter to court. But the legislature, as a branch of the government, cannot and should not take another branch to court. Doesn't make any sense.
Because Senator Alicia Chucky Hansen had taken the executive branch over Great Pan.
Mm-hmm. And I think Senator Bryan also on one occasion.
Many times he
Yeah.
have taken it, yes.
Yeah.
But and individual senators have gone against the legislature,
Mm-hmm.
like former Governor Mapp.
Mm-hmm.
Remember?
Yeah, and I'm not too sure.
From the Senate.
Right. That was a case where I think his case was one where he was just like I'm on the case of Stephen Payne.
Right. He did too. He took the matter to court.
Yeah, they're challenging. That's a case where individual senators have challenged actions taken by the body.
Because I'm hearing people talking about the senators should take a particular distillery to court. And I'm like, they're not going to do that. They're the lawmakers. If you have a pending matter with a legislation that is put on, what is it? Hold, right? That is it, holding?
Mm-hmm.
Put on hold, right? That's what it is.
Yeah.
That means you could come back and revisit. But if an individual citizen wants to take a company or business to court,
Mm-hmm.
regardless, that's their right.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're the plaintiff, you better understand the burden of proof is on you.
Mm-hmm.
If you're making allegations, and I just believe that with all these various issues that we have, I know you narrowed it down. I narrowed it down to 5 major ones,
Mm-hmm.
and I know you extensively discussed. And I appreciate because I find a lot of former senators don't come back and they don't continue the process and the dedication to educating the public.
Mm-hmm.
But you have maintained that, and I appreciate it. And this thing now, when you bring to my prophecy,
yeah.
I just like, oh my gosh, I read the Bible. Let me make it clear. Some people think I'm an atheist. I'm not an atheist. Okay? I believe in a higher power. But I could sit down at the table with a Jew, a Christian, a Buddhist, a Muslim. Because the one thing we all have in common is we all are human beings. And everybody is entitled to worship whatever or whomever. But we have to have some basic human rights. And we all have to be in that together. So I am just disturbed what Israel and the United States and Argentina did. Because slavery, oh my God, for like about 400 years was practiced in the United States. Denmark, did Denmark sign the resolution?
Many of the countries abstained. You had the 3 countries that actually voted against the resolution, but you had about some 40 plus countries that abstained from voting one way or the other.
Yeah. Okay. Because I don't believe, it's my belief, we gain any reparations from Denmark. But what we could do is work with Denmark and build a closer relationship and maybe have some type of understanding, of course, with the blessings of Congress, because we're an unincorporated territory. And since they are leaders in the solar power industry, right? To do some kind of collaboration.
And herein lies another aspect of this thing, where you find that when one speaks of reparations, determination has not been made in terms of what exactly should comprise reparations.
Exactly.
So
because what I'm talking about might be considered reparation. It's making amends,
right,
for how we here in the U.S. Virgin Islands,
right,
once upon a time, Danish, West Indies, we made Denmark one of the richest nations in the world. Through the sugar industry,
right, and all
sugar
the
plantations.
Yeah, and all the Caribbean islands have that claim to stand upon. But let me just because somebody else is trying to comment. But before we go there, I want to clarify one thing which was said earlier, which is that whilst I said that the legislature should not take an entity, private entity, to court. However, the government of the Virgin Islands, acting through the Department of Justice, can take a private company, to court.
Right.
So I just wanted to clarify that.
Yes, I agree with you. And all I'm saying is I'm glad that you are here because you have joined me in our mission, educate, enlighten, and inspire minds. Because knowledge is power. And I'm going to continue my advocacy for people to understand that we are being governed by a de facto constitution, the revised Organic Act. And as long as we don't replace it, we're going to continue in the same situation. And by the way, for GRS, what's his name? Runner Russell was removed from the board, right, as a trustee. But he's still on the Sixth Constitutional Convention. We ain't award yet. But the Sixth Constitutional Convention, why they don't call your show? Why these people don't come and educate? Or if I make any mistake, correct me, because I don't know everything, but I'm willing to learn. But again, thank you.
All right.
For continuing your dedication and commitment to making the Virgin Islands of the United States a better place.
Thanks for calling and sharing. Be blessed. Bye. Hello. Wow. All right. Caller, apparently. Okay, let's see what's happening here now. Hello, caller. Good morning and welcome.
Hey,
morning, Mr. Baptiste.
Good morning to you. Welcome to the program.
Yes, your program open up for any kind of conversation, rather?
Yes, you can freestyle into it, yeah.
My subject of concern today is on the body racetrack, right? You know how they think cry, especially. Think cry racetrack, been out for about 10 years now, right? Okay. So we know how significant this is in our community, right? It was not part of the community, and something that we need again, one of them topic just can't be an island not doing this. So you need some kind of form of, enjoyment, nice one without any kind of trouble. So this is why I'm getting at, right? Okay. St. Thomas Racetrack, right? We don't know who really operating it, but we know that this organization, company, the Southland Gaming was given contract to build out St. Thomas Racetrack, right? They did it somewhat to what extent that they were able to run race and so now, right?
Right.
But it come with it came right now, you see horses, the running race, like every other month or whatever, 3 months off and things like that. I know way to run horse racing, right? But I say, these organization like that came in, right? They only come in rather just to, they control the VLT, right? Over there. Got exclusive rights and all kind of things. So the deal, they make a deal to get control, like, anything like VLTs, the racetrack and all, which it should have never been like that, It should have been open. So now that they control that, anybody coming in there, St. Thomas, right, will have to use their machines, right, work for day, whoever limit they got, do everything, maintenance and all of that. The horseman, them over there don't get sent, right, from the VLT, them they got the set. They said 600 a year, which it should be more, because they make it more than that, So it's like, okay, take this because you're hungry, right? And most people would not eat anything that people come with them to just drop it down and say, hey, this, So this is our situation, right? So they know when the governor involved, so they interested in St. Croix, right? Now, St. Croix are different, set of people and so we're dealing with, because St. Croix for horse racing, you could say St. Croix was the capital of the three island them that told us St. Croix, St. Thomas running horse racing, because it was like an industry to we bred horses and we look for growth, We always had like a large number of races every year, And so now, what the governor and this was proposing, but like proposing to we, the people of the Virgin Islands here, is far less than what we are accustomed to, and some people along the way might just say you ain't got nothing, you should take it, but it doesn't work good for the community because they want the same exclusive rights to run the racetrack, which should be widely operating it, if so. But they think to operate the racetrack. They want to set up business outside of the racetrack, If it's on the racetrack, it's called a casino, right?
Yeah.
They got machines and what's that, right? But they don't want to operate, so they want to operate outside of the racetrack, only run the racetrack for 5 years and still have exclusive rights when they leave for 5 years. So once again, right, who benefiting from it? They benefiting and we ain't got no growth, So now when they leave, you're obligated to pay, and that's something we need to move away from, this kind of thing, and instead of giving somebody it, we need to go through what the process to always be you send it out for a request for proposal, right? Appoint if anybody interested, the best offer. But this one sounds like he's just sticking it down the throat, you know, and somebody gonna be making a lot of people other than the horse owners they're gonna be making money. I mean, it's disturbing.
Let me say this to you, my brother. There is something called people power. Now, when we look at our situation in the Virgin Islands, we've made mistakes in the past, and we ought to learn from the mistakes that we made in the past. We have a Horsemen Association on St. Croix, and the Horsemen Association needs to be very proactive and aggressive in terms of looking out for their interests. The legislature has to exercise due diligence in terms of looking at the entire industry, the horse racing industry, looking at the gaming industry, which involves casinos and VLTs, etc. They've got to conduct appropriate study to find out if a proposal coming before them is something that's going to be beneficial to a majority of parties involved as opposed to just one set of individuals. So I'm saying if a proposal, first of all, mistakes were made in terms of how they went forward with the previous contract they had, which fell through the cracks, you know, because we had something in place whereby the casino people in downtown Christiansted were going to run the casino. And I don't know the particulars of why this thing fell through the cracks, but eventually it turns out that St. Thomas leapfrogs ahead of St. Croix. They get to have their horse racing facilities fixed, and they're now having races in conjunction with Southland Gaming, whilst we in St. Croix, we have nothing. All of whatever missteps were taken, these things must be reviewed and corrections must be made. And the legislature, in reviewing any kind of contract that's coming before them, must make sure they have all T's crossed and all I's dotted, so that it cannot be that the horsemen and other parties on the island are the ones holding the rotten end of the stick, and the gaming entity is the one getting away with the loot and taking it to the bank. So I'm saying that, you know, we have to learn from mistakes made in the past. And as we go forward, address every loophole, everything that doesn't inure to the benefit of the people on the island and the territory, and squash that if that is not the case.
Yes. From the information I have received, only body benefiting from that, what is being presented is those who presenting this to the government and whoever, but it ain't trickling down to the people because we're the equal partners in the game, you know. And
if that is the case, you guys have to hold your senators' feet to the fire. They must not approve that.
Right, and I would hope that the senators you know, do the right thing. Last time, like I said, St. Thomas zone should have never been, because they want the best thing for St. Thomas, but you know, it appears to be that the running and everything, but it ain't, you know, it ain't, and they're losing a lot over there. It's stuck, you know, like I say, you cannot grow in what it's doing over there. It's just stuck, and this game, you got a lot of growth. You got to leave room for growth, and we don't want to see that happen to we. And if they come in with that, they believe that on the table, and we just wait, you know.
No. This is unacceptable, and I'm saying that the legislature has a responsibility. Yeah, and
leave it on the table.
Yeah, and I know that this is something that needs to be addressed post haste, because we got youngsters, you know, running horse races in the bush and so on, which is unsafe. Now we need to have a decent racing facility operating on the island of St. Croix. That must not be left on the back burners. Time is now for us to take action. And so I'm saying all the responsible parties need to come together. There need to be an investigation, a sit down with a VI, what GL, MGL, whatever they call them, and find out what went wrong. Why did this thing just collapse? You know, I mean, we got to trace the steps and see what went wrong, what mistakes were made, and put something in place that's going to be for the benefit of the majority.
So then we have to pay attention to that there moving forward, keep our ears open and make your ears and eyes open there, you know. I just putting that out there, you know.
Well, I want to.
I know we missed it.
Yeah.
We just can't take anything and allow them to advantage us. So
I want to thank you for sharing that with us, because you know that's not I've not had anybody call in to discuss such matters here on the program. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for listening to me. You have a good day, the people of the board, you know.
All right then. You be blessed now. Take care.
Okay, goodbye.
Goodbye. All righty. Hello, caller. Good morning and welcome.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you. Welcome to the program. Before you go on, I wanted to say one thing, because a caller earlier on spoke about people having demonstrations and others feeling that they shouldn't have those demonstrations. I want to let people know that we have something called the United Nations that came out of the League of Nations, which gives
the amount of the large of nations. So
right, right, and so that's where it's a forum where all the nations of the world supposedly can come together and thrash out whatever differences that they have and work towards common good. It doesn't always work out that way. So that even if we have persons from the mainland residing here, it doesn't matter what the situation is. I think they have a right, as long as they get the proper permits, to protest. And even the one I saw in St. Lucia, people were complaining, why do these people who they're Americans residing in St. Lucia want to be out there protesting and having demonstrations? And I'm saying that we need to be a little more understanding. If they're residing on the island and they still hold interests in America as American citizens, they have a right to protest. And whatever happens impacts us globally. So I think we need to pay attention. And if needs be, there are times we need to get up and demonstrate, protest, take action. I just wanted to put that on record.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because, okay, let me say to the last caller what was just talking, right?
Mm-hmm.
This thing with the harassing industry, Mr. Baptiste, this thing comes down along party line. You understand? That's how I see it. You ask me.
What parties? What parties are you talking about here?
For political lines.
Oh, okay. All right.
Political lines, because the other governor that was in before this one, he started 2 projects in St. Croix, right? Any of them finish? Any of them?
Well, I'm going to say what you don't want to say. In other words, projects began by the MAP administration have been neglected or set aside by this administration.
That's how it is.
All right. Okay.
That's how it is. You have equity in these Virgin Islands, when it comes to separation. You know what makes me be aware of that, Mr. Baptiste? When Hornbull started tearing down, remember the Turo building? You remember the Turo building?
Yeah, out there in Golden Rock.
Yeah, they had plans to build up what they were supposed to build between them.
I know they tore it down to build something which never got a start.
Never.
Yeah.
Never. And I used to say at least, at that time I used to say at least, well, a democratic governor coming into existence and he will finish that. Who tell me that? Look, the place are in bush, I know, in bush. So it will come down along political issues and ideologies and people, you understand? Yeah, because this governor had 8 years, he could have finished the racetrack. He could have finished Pali Junior Stadium. None of them is finished yet. But let me move away.
But before you go on, can I let me intimate something here, which I suspect is what runs matters to a large extent. Don't you think that we have certain heads of parties in one district that sometimes get together and not wanting to see certain things happen in the next district, especially if they feel that it may be threatening in some sense, and that they just move behind the scenes to stall things and prevent things from happening?
Yeah, first of all, our democratic people in the voting scene, Korea especially, his followers, the leaders there in Tama, they don't leave being Korean Democrat. You understand? So that's where we're going now. They don't leave it, and we don't just follow. That's all it is.
You remember the time when the cruise industry wanted to undertake certain development projects here in the territory. Some things were being proposed for the island of St. Croix, and everything was just pulled off the table. And the island that suffered the most as a result of that was St. Croix.
The milk industry, I could think of that.
No, well, the milk industry was one, but the cruise ship industry, I forget with Michelle Page and them there. They had plans to do some things here on St. Croix, and that was during the Turnbull administration. Whoever parties in St. Thomas didn't want to see these things happen on St. Croix began to put stumbling blocks in the way, and so the cruise ships just pulled the whole thing off the table. Eventually, it re-emerged in a sense, and that's how you got to get the Crown Bay development over in St. Thomas. But I'm saying to us that you have certain key players, and that's not the general population in St. Thomas. I'm talking about key players who hold key positions in
people.
Exactly, and they orchestrate and move things on the board to keep St. Croix in check, and we need to realize that and tell it like it is.
Yeah, this is happening all the time, Mr. Baptiste.
Well, hey,
all the time. From one administration to the next, they fight off map. They have big rally against map because people sheets over the land. You understand?
Yeah.
But let me go to the gist of what I want to talk about, Mr. Baptiste. We talk about the vote that the 3 nations vote against the thing of slavery, right?
Yeah.
But first of all, every week you don't come and you don't talk about the Bible. The Bible. Do you realize that these specific nations, right, believe in slavery?
They practiced slavery. They also practiced slavery. They didn't just believe in slavery, they practiced it.
Well, from the time of the inception of America, slavery is in the thing, right? Yeah, they build upon slavery. Period. And the Bible talk about slavery. The Bible says it was all right to have slaves. Do you know that?
The Bible did not say it was all right. The Bible simply told them to treat the slaves well.
The Bible said you could buy slavery, buy slaves. The Bible said that.
Yes, you are right. You are right. You are right. In ancient Israel, they were instructed to buy slaves. Yes.
And tell them how to treat them and how they could have them forever. The Bible said that. The same book that we in read. That's why you see, I tell you, Mr. Baptiste, when it comes to religion, I am agnostic.
But let me, I'm agnostic. And I appreciate your position, but doesn't the Bible also say that we would come to a point where there would no longer be slave and master, but we would all be one under the umbrella of the Messiah?
Chapter and verse. You mean?
It's in the New Testament where it says that in Christ there is neither Greek nor Jew, neither bond nor free, neither male nor female, but we are all one in Christ. I don't recall the exact passage, but that's in the New Testament.
And also that said, Jesus said that he come to fulfill the Old Testament, you know.
He came not to destroy it, but to fulfill
Not
it.
to destroy it. So
Mhm.
how that thing of how you understand what I'm saying?
He is the same one who also told us, you heard that under the old law, it was said an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, but I'm telling you here now, if somebody takes your coat, let him take the shirt also. If somebody slaps you on the left, turn the other cheek. He came with an attitude of love, humility, compassion. That's what he tried to impress upon us.
So what we supposed to do? Leave the Old Testament and just embrace the New Testament?
As
That's
far
what you're telling me?
as far as I am concerned, when you have an old law and you bring in a new law, you've amended the old law. You may take some things from the old law and put it in the new law, but you're now operating under the new law. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
What amendment?
Mm-hmm. Because there were things under the old law that are no longer in effect today, if I may. They've been set aside. All of them are the things where you had to slaughter animals to make atonement for people's sins. That's no longer in existence. All of the
I said that by my land. My land.
Uh-huh.
Go to people and they are done good to you. That's
Mhm.
me.
and that's
no
I
Bible, I'm not teaching, I'm not preacher, and all them kind of thing. I'm done with that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm done with that.
But do you realize that principle you're now holding on to? It is something that perhaps goes back to ancient Egypt, but it's also a principle, pillar of the teachings of Jesus Christ the Messiah.
And guess what? Ancient Egypt was not Christian.
No,
They weren't Christian.
no.
So I embraced something that was not a Christian concept. You see what I'm saying?
And the whole idea of Christianity, it was people at Antioch who began to call disciples of Christ Christians. But Christ himself, because the word Christ simply means the anointed one. You know, in a sense, we have many Christs, you know, because there are many anointed ones. But the Messiah, Yeshua, now he was designated Messiah, which we translate often to be Savior. But in terms of, you know, I don't even call myself a Christian. I'm just a believer in the teachings of the Messiah. I consider myself a disciple.
You say you grew up Christian, right?
I was born and raised according to Christian traditions.
Yeah, I also was born and raised and grew up in Christian tradition.
Mm-hmm.
I come to realize that some of them things is tomfoolery that embrace. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I hear you.
That's how I see it.
Mm-hmm.
So the Bible does say one thing. I like the Ten Commandments that thou shalt not kill. Another part says there's a time to kill. So which one it is?
That's
Which
again.
one it is? Tell me.
Again, that is something presented in the Old Testament.
What we just say we love the Ten Commandments, right?
Uh-huh.
And they're in the Old Testament.
Yeah.
So we want to take out one part and leave the other part.
No, I am not.
That's what we don't do as a people, you know.
I am not suggesting that. What I'm suggesting here is that there was a statement made by the writers in the Old Testament that said we would come to a point in time where the basic understanding of love and compassion, generosity, and all of these great virtues would be imprinted in the hearts of mankind, in the minds of people. You would have a mindset that gives into such fine virtues, and you would no longer need to look at 10 items written on a piece of paper or slate, what have you, that says that, you know, you shouldn't do murder, you shouldn't kill, you shouldn't steal, and all of that, envy people's stuff and so on, you would have a basic understanding and principle of love, compassion, humility, doing unto others what you would have them do unto you. So if you don't want them to do it to you, don't do it to them. That would be written in the mindset, imprinted in the heart. That's why we say, have a heart of love. You know, I had a discussion with a brother, Christian, if I may call it that way. And when I told him that I do not believe in judging people, and he tried to show me that, well, you have to judge, you have to make certain distinctions, you know, so as to arrive at some conclusion. I said, I agree with you that we got to determine what is good as opposed to what is bad, what is right from what is wrong. But my position is that I'm not condemning anybody. I might make that distinction, but I'm not going to condemn you. That's for someone else to do.
Well, I just wanted to tell you about that part that I read this weekend. I had know something to the fact that the Bible talks about slavery.
Mm-hmm.
So I read the exact thing that is said.
Mm-hmm.
And my mouth dropped up because I thought, like you were saying that, you were saying then that they tell you how to treat them, but it
right.
also tell you how to get them.
Yes, yes, you are right about that.
How to get them.
Yes,
and that's the part that the Roman people that tell them they have the right to their own people who is not of the Christian faith.
Yeah.
You know that, right?
Yeah, the Pope gave them that authority.
Yeah, through the papal bull, because that's what they read in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And they think that they have the right because they write the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
They wrote the Bible. So
you're saying that are you saying that the Romans were the ones who wrote the Bible?
Well, who wrote the Bible? Tell me.
The Bible was written by different authors in different areas, especially in the region of Egypt, Persia, Canaan, all of these places there, Iraq, Iran, you know. These are the people who wrote the Bible. Now we have a specific group of those Semitic people that we refer to as Jews, especially the descendants of Abraham. But they were all one set of Semitic people that have occupied that general area. And so
King James that we don't read these days, right?
King James did not write the Bible.
Hold. King James brought all these people, these Semitic people to translate the Bible.
No, what King James did was that before we got to King James, we had Emperor Constantine, who brought together a number of scholars to make a determination in terms of.
From where?
They were from all parts of that. They were from his empire, Constantinople.
And they put together the Bible.
They sat down and decided that some books should be excluded and some books should be included in what they refer to as the canon. You know.
In what language did they write the first one that you're talking about?
Those books would have been written in terms of what's the name of the language? It's an ancient Jewish language, Aramaic. Most of these books were written in Aramaic texts. They were not written in any of the languages that we have common around today. But there was a point in time when translations were made. I think the first translation was from the original languages into Latin, which was the language of the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
And then
they translated what they put it how they wanted, you know.
Or whenever you translate from one language to the next, you will lose a number of important elements.
Yes, they put it how they want it.
Yeah,
And what we got now is what people wanted to give us. They give us everything that we were supposed to have. They put it how they wanted.
yes, yes. I saw the case of what is called referred to as a slave Bible, which was a Bible prepared specifically to keep Negroes in slavery, to make them not want to rebel against the slave masters. And I think that that Bible is kept at a museum. I forget whether this museum is in the United States or in England, but it is kept in one of the museums. And so, yes, men, well, during those periods where they wanted to engage in the enslavement of Africans, they, doctored, adulterated the Bible, the texts of the Bible, to suit their needs, their desires. And so, yes, the Bible has been tampered with. No two ways about it. But I think we're living at a point in the history and development of mankind where a lot of truth is coming out. You have scholars who are out there looking at the ancient texts, reviewing it against what we have written today, and they're making corrections and telling us.
A lot of people come to the conclusion that they got plenty ambiguities in the Bible that we don't read today. Plenty. Understand?
I hear you, and I know that there are. Well, they often refer to them as paradoxes, things that are difficult to reconcile with. But hey, listen, my brother, I take the nuggets that benefit the whole, and not the nuggets that benefit a selected few who want to exploit and manipulate others. When I go to the Bible, I look at these things that would be beneficial to me, my neighbors, and those around me, the things that make for harmonious living, an exercise of love and compassion and humility, that I can check myself before I begin to look at other people and want to condemn them. I must understand that, that particular person may be going through some difficulties and challenges that I have not found myself in his or her place to understand what he or she is going through before I judge and condemn. That's how
let me tell you this. I'm going to end with this, right?
Uh-huh.
A lot of people have said that the Bible will teach you morality, right?
Uh-huh.
But say this. Before a Bible was ever written, human beings had morality. Do you believe that?
Human beings had conscience.
Huh?
Human beings have conscience, and conscience
develop what?
Conscience develops our standards of what is right, what is wrong, what is acceptable, what is unacceptable.
What do we call that? Beating around the bush, What do we call that?
It is a code of moral behavior.
There you go. We had morality before we ever read a Bible.
Mm-hmm.
People talk about the Bible. We had morality because we had conscience, as you said. We were conscious people.
But have you heard the saying? Have you heard the saying rather that you do not throw the baby out with the bathwater?
Mm.
You've heard that, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying to you, the Bible has lots of good in it.
Yeah, it got good in it.
Okay.
But you also have a lot of terrible things in it too.
I'm not saying no to that.
A lot of terrible things.
Yeah, I'm not saying no to that, my brother.
And we have said that God is almighty, all-knowing, and all-loving. But through the whole Bible that I read from the time I was small,
Uh-huh.
I see a lot of murders in the Bible that God tells people to kill people. And we see a part in the Bible that the devil said that you must kill this and kill that. You know, I never said that.
Mm-hmm.
I never said that. I mean, say that. So, how God could be all loving and kind and telling you to kill people?
Mm-hmm. Can I ask you a question?
I want to understand
can I ask you a question?
I'm listening to you.
Have you?
Stop
Have you not known of cases where a messenger is sent and the messenger puts out the message according to his personal view and not exactly according to the directive that was given to him?
When?
That happens all the time.
Bible?
That happens not I'm saying that happens.
I'm talking about the Bible, Mr.
Because what I'm saying is that I believe some of the writers of the Bible, they put their own emphasis, their bent on the message given to them, and they did not deliver it exactly as it was given. Besides that,
I'm glad to say that because they write it.
okay, besides that, here is the other thing. A lot of what we have, the messages of the Bible initially were given in an oral format, word of mouth, from one person to the next. And you know, when you're moving things by word of mouth, I can give you a message to give to John. John is going to give it to Mary. And by the time it gets to Mary, it is not the same as what I initially delivered. So I'm saying to you, it was an oral tradition in the beginning. So by the time we came to the point where men began to write these things down, there was some measure of distortion. There was some measure of inaccuracy. But if you really dive deep, you will find out what the original true message was.
Well, I want to find out the original true message of them, of God telling whoever to walk around the walls of Jericho, and then they come tumbling down and all the people and tell them to kill who stay alive. I want to understand that. Help me.
Lord have mercy, my brother. I will tell you something. I will tell you something right now. If I was heading a tribe, and I felt that, you know, I had a dream, and in the dream, some being told me that I should lead a tribe of 12 individuals to go conquer a particular village. We get to the village, we engage in battle with the defenders of that village, and then we're left with a set of young boys. I would have to be like Machiavelli and say the end justifies the means. You know what, guys? We got to kill these boys because they'll grow up to hold what we have done against us. They'll take revenge for the fathers that we killed. We better get rid of them. That's how
But yet the commandment explains to you, thou shalt not kill.
I know the commandment explains that.
You understand what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? And God tells his people to kill this whole nation. Don't even leave the animal them alive. Kill all.
Trust me, there was
you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know that there was a principle.
Understand what I'm saying?
I understand that. I'm just simply saying there was. Listen now, let me tell you something. When the Bible says that when you guys go in there, and after you have plundered and done what you do, you see them females. Any one of them that have those who have not known men, you can hold them. Yeah, and I understand the basic principle behind that. But those who have known men, hey, listen now, they ain't gonna forgive you guys for killing off their men. So get rid of them.
What principle? How we the think these days? What principle is there in that?
Well, let me explain to you. Let me explain to you and others. There is something about the way how the female brain is wired. The woman that you take her virginity, that creates a bond between you and that woman that is not easily broken. I know you'll say that a lot of these women today, they've been into this and they're doing that, and a lot of times it's men who get them to be that way because men took their virginity and didn't show appreciation and didn't hold on to them. Men took their virginity, used them, and cast them aside. But if you find a woman who's a virgin, you take her virginity and you treat her well, brother, a bond is established and it's not easily broken. I think most men who have been through that will tell you such is the case.
But that's really Machiavellian.
Yes.
That's Machiavellian.
Yes, it is. It is the end justifies the means. It is.
Oh, God, because Baptiste, be able with you, Bishop. Be able with you, brother. Everybody that they concept or whatever they need, and put the thing and the perspective into it. So either we think for the warden that I read it.
Now,
I either come to my conclusion that that is wrong.
I don't want you and those hear me. I don't want you and those listening to get me wrong. You know, I'm not saying that it is right. I'm not saying that it was right to kill off those women and those young men. I'm simply saying that logically.
When, this is the only time around country. According to how this war is going right now, America and Israel got the right to go into Iran and do the same thing.
No, I don't. No, they don't have the right.
It changed.
Not that it changed. Not that it changed. It's not that it changed. When you look at the entire area of the Middle East and you look at the geography of the Middle East, and you even go back to what the Bible says that God told Abraham in terms of giving a land to him, his descendants, and when you read the writings of Paul, that it speaks of seed, and the seed of Abraham being referred to there is Christ. Essentially, Christ being the Messiah to the entire world, not one particular group of people. Christ is Messiah. Jesus, Yeshua, is Messiah to all of the world, all of the nations, so that area they're fighting over really belongs to all the nations of the earth, as long as they come under the umbrella of the Messiah. So I do not support what is being done right now with all this fighting between like Israel going over against Iran. And I have another thing about Israel today. Who is Israel today? Is that the genuine, true Israel that we encounter in the pages of the Bible? I have lots of questions about that.
Yeah. So how are you going to get the answer? Tell me.
I'm still searching.
Yeah. Just like me. I still searching.
Yeah. And if I get the answers in short order, I will share with you and those who are listening and viewing this program.
All that all thing between the pages of the Bible, I don't agree with them. I don't agree. I don't agree. I leave it alone. I love people. I treat people good. That's all it is.
And I support that wholeheartedly.
Yeah,
let's
people good.
Right. Let's love people and treat them well.
Yeah. I got this right, man.
All right. Thanks for calling and sharing, man. Stay strong. Wow. All right. Let me see. Whilst the ringers are off, the numbers are still the same: 7730390 and 7730490. I wanted to get into something. Let me see if I have some time to do that very quickly, because you know, here on the island of St. Croix, here in the Virgin Islands, I should say, we are having all kinds of difficulties, challenges with the power generating company called WAPA. And recently, we had blackouts in St. Thomas and St. John that lasted for a considerable amount of time. And so people are now, kicking hell. They're upset with the power company, and they feel that they've been taken for a ride. And then one of the callers this morning asked the question, what are the senators doing about that? The aspirants, what have they got to say? And I just want to share that, in the past, some of us took action. And I took some action in 2005 to address that WAPA situation. And I did it in a wholesome fashion, but some people just derailed the program. Let me just say this, caller. Hello, caller. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Baptiste. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, thanks. How about you? Welcome to the program. Good to hear your voice.
Yeah. a matter of fact, I was here intendedly listening to you and the previous caller. I enjoyed the subject content. And I was going to call. Well, I wanted to speak on what's been happening recently.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even St. Croix have had some outages recently, but not like St. Thomas as often as what's going on. And it seems like even as we speak, maybe even rotating.
Mm-hmm. You worked with WAPA. Let me ask you a quick question. You worked with WAPA, considering the separation in terms of water between St. John and St. Thomas. Don't you think it would have been good, perhaps better, for St. John to have its own power generating unit on island that
This is John Baptiste. I worked at WAPA in the Harley Power Plant from June 2nd of 1997 to October of 2010. And while employed there, St. John had what we call in the power plant Unit 7G, because the units have names,
right?
12, Unit 15. And Unit 7G was an emergency diesel generator, powered generator that we had on St. John in case we needed it for the load requirement. Something happened that we could just get access to this unit, put it at full speed, no load, and get it synchronized and have it online.
Like a mini substation.
Yeah, it was there to say as an additional unit, but it wasn't in the power plant at St. Thomas. It was on the island of St. John.
Right.
Because say you have 5 generators in the power plant at St. Thomas, but you have one at St. John, so you have 6 units that is, if they're available, that you could go to. So to say what the governor said, and I was listening to a program earlier, and this was being discussed, and farmer senators were irate and upset, to say the least, with the governor's comment about St. John don't need its own power generation.
The governor said that?
That's the furthest thing from the truth. Look at what's happening now with the submersible cable. So it only makes common sense for St. John, which is a separate island, to have its own power generation capacity.
All right.
Which could be a way to help the grid between St. Thomas, St. John, and Water Island, which is the other island that has its power being generated at Harley, tied into like a 3-island grid farm. So but as far as what's happening, the old adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. People went ahead. When I started working at WAPA, the power was mostly generated by Unit 11 and 13 steam-driven turbines, which was associated with a boiler, which we had tied into our IDE water plants, because the power was generated by steam, which is the gaseous state of water. You just put in heat to it, the temperature turns it into a steam, and then we made 2 types of steam. plant to get fresh water going into the boiler, where two products exited the boiler: dry steam to make electricity and low pressure saturated steam to make water. That was working. The gas turbines was auxiliary. That's where the cost is right now. The diesel auxiliary generators, whether it's diesel or LPG, because the oil that was burned in the furnace, it had a higher viscosity, a lower burn rate. So you were able to extract more energy. And like I said, you made two products. So to say we discontinue and dismantle the boilers and the water plants and then subcontract out to make water through reverse osmosis, to desalination from seawater, I mean, which is giving away your revenue stream, which is already limited because you're on an island, doesn't make sense.
So let me
making money.
So let me ask you a question, because it seems that such decisions have been made on so many different occasions where WAPA is concerned. I recall hearing that we had a desalination plant on St. Croix, some kind of Israeli-made plant, which
the IDE.
Okay, and the government, WAPA or whoever decided to sell it to the Dominican Republic. And then we ended up having all kinds of problems with water desal here, where we turned eventually to 7 Seas, where we're getting some kind of, well, those who get the water say it's all brown and so on, you know.
Baptiste.
Uh-huh.
I started off our discourse with saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you want to make the freshest potable, meaning for oral consumption, drinkable water for city water, would it be better that the source that you're making the water from is fresh water from a system, seawater, which you have to do desalination? You know, so that didn't make any sense.
So my question is, who makes those decisions, and how can we stop those decisions from being made in the future? Because so many times we see this happening with WAPA. Who's behind the scenes, you know, engineering those decisions into place?
Of course, it's upper management and the board. Those are the decision makers.
Right.
It's not the linemen, the operators, the plumbers, the welders, the secretaries, people working in customer service.
All right.
They're just doing a job, following rules, regulations, policy, and procedures.
Okay.
But the ones who makes the rules, who makes the policy.
All right. I hear you. And now I understand. Now I understand a lot of things.
Right now, you know, when we went back to what sellers and say LPG, you know, was gonna be the end to our electrical power generation, and we was gonna go to smaller units. And then if people keep saying, it don't make sense to having these big units. The big unit is there for what's called a line engine. Each power plant have a line engine, and the purpose for the line engine is to take surges that come into the plant. So if you're running the line engine, say at 25 meg, and a surge coming, and you have to shed 10 meg. Well, the line engine will shed the 10 meg. It will still stay online. You'll be online. You have 15 meg. You might lose a feeder. But what does it do? It protects the rest of the units in the yard from the surge. And because you have these little small 6 megawatts and 9 megawatts of big surge coming, they just knock them over like dominoes. Because you have no protection.
Mm-hmm.
Just like people tell you get a source protector or something to protect the source from coming into your from your home or business
Uh-huh.
when there's outages and
Yeah.
so forth.
Yeah.
So uh, there is a purpose for having these bigger units, you know. And as far as reducing the cost, steam, as I just checked right now here in New York City, I was just looking at a video where they were doing a tour of a plant in Manhattan. It's a 500 megawatt steam driven turbine, like the ones that we had in St. Thomas, which was maybe 13 was maybe rated at 30 something megs or something like that. But still in use to this day. We discontinue ours. So can others say New York City, Gotham City, the metropolis, the biggest city in America, one of the most modernist cities on the planet, is still using steam. One of the things I want to say quickly too that Ms. Peterson touched on, and I was going to talk about it, was the relationship with Denmark and their production through wind turbines, and they have come up with a efficient way, and almost 50% of their production is done through that way.
Mm-hmm.
Is through the fact that we were once the Danish West Indies, like you said, and we have a tie to Copenhagen.
Mm-hmm.
That maybe somehow somebody needs to maybe see if we can get in touch with their consulate and say, listen, we're having an energy crisis,
Mm-hmm.
and we would just like to have some of your experts come and just do an analysis. I think that's what WAPA needs right now.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because we had this guy Shelley Moorhead. I understand he's running to serve as delegate to the Congress, but Shelley used to be the one championing the reparations movement here in the Virgin Islands, and specifically having discussions between Denmark and the Virgin Islands. And so perhaps now is a time, since you mentioned that, for somebody to pick up the baton, maybe even Shelley himself, and see how we can.
Let me say this: I have ties to Denmark.
Mm-hmm.
My aunt, who still lives in Copenhagen at the age she's got to be in her low 90s.
Mm-hmm.
I have two cousins that was born in Copenhagen. One of them still lives there. My her oldest daughter, Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
So, as far as someone who at least has tied to someone who's actually in Denmark,
Mm-hmm.
At least who's a family member, I could, contact her. And of course, she speaks more languages, English and English.
So let's begin the conversation.
Other languages. So maybe I could use, that contact,
Mm-hmm.
having somebody that's actually there in Denmark, to see, what we could get done as far as relationships going and having some sort of communication.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's begin the conversation. And the other thing I want us to look at is that all of these, I don't know for St. Thomas, but here in St. Croix, we have a number of solar farms that have sprung up. And I don't know if they have the required battery packs to go with these solar farms. Because I've not had.
Well, that's what I was saying. People say that they now have the batteries because, uh, for instance, if it's daytime and you have 5 megs coming from the solar farm,
Mm-hmm.
and you have that on the grid, and then there is a cloud cover that comes over. So what's going to happen now is that you're going to lose some of that load from the solar.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you have the batteries now set up. So if you lose 3 megs off the cloud cover, the battery can make the difference up. I mean, how does that have set up? I mean, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, solar is light.
Yeah.
Photo, yeah, exactly. So, and when you're on an island like that, clouds go by all the time.
Uh-huh.
So it's when that's why.
I understand that's the reason. That's
That's why solar wind is considered intermittent
right.
power.
But isn't that the reason why you need the batteries so that you can store that power?
Yeah, because if you not basically to use it, like if you need auxiliary power at night, where you have the right, so you're not using the cells,
Uh-huh.
so you have to have it stored in the battery, and be able to get it off the battery.
We
But what is the capacity of the batteries? How long because they go? If you need them for 5 hours, what are their capacity even after full charge is maybe 2 hours, and then so there are limitations. But I mean, right now the things that you're gonna need is to diversify as far as for cost savings, because with what's going on now, a barrel of oil Brent crude is over $100.
yeah. Yeah.
Uh, Liquid petroleum gas, liquid natural gas, they're
Yeah.
all like just looking at the last couple of weeks, the market there is steadily going up. So, and this is what Whopper uses. Diesel, of course, is going to have gone up. Uh,
And these are the important considerations that folk need to make because, like when we were talking earlier about demonstrations being held here and there, the reality is that what's going on in the Middle East impacts us all over. You know, it's a global arena that we're operating in,
exactly.
and so yeah, we.
So, before you know it, the first of June is there, hurricane season.
Wow, wow.
So,
We got so much to deal with. But anyway, try and wrap it up. Somebody else is trying to come in.
well, I'll just leave it at that for now. Let somebody just come and we speak about it some other time. But, like you say, you need to start having these discussions because don't wait till the last minute. The ratepayers are already frustrated with
Yep.
just the lack of service.
Mm-hmm.
Never mind the cost. So and then you look into ask them to bear another cost increase on top of all this. It's just outrageous. Anyhow,
Right.
you take care.
All right. Thanks for calling and sharing. Stay strong. Bye.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Hello.
Hey, Baptiste, good morning. This boy.
Good morning to you and welcome to the program.
I was taken out yesterday
Mm-hmm.
to find out that WAPA entered into agreement with Wadzilla generator for.
Yeah. Hello. Did I lose you? What's happening here, man? Hello.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I lost you for a minute.
I said that since 2019, WAPA went into agreement with Wadzilla at a cost of $2.7 million for 2 generators for St. John. So I want to know if the generator them gone, St. John ain't got no power, they ain't got no generator. So what happened to that contract, that agreement they went into with Wadzilla for the generator them for St. John?
And where are the generators?
Yeah, exactly. Either way the generator, where the money, 2.7 million 85 cents.
Boy.
And it's sad that the people are still suffering. You don't hear them saying nothing. What are abusing them? They just might not get a card for this radio. What about said she got $3,000, she got 4 children. What about tell her bring $2,000 and the woman like cut and she got 4 children living with her 4 children since February. No, you think that's right?
So let me ask you something, Coach Foy. What makes WAPA so untouchable? Like, you know, for all the complaints that you have, and yet that entity is just untouchable. Nobody can touch that elephant and move it out of the room.
Nobody wants to touch it. That's why it's sad. It's sad that WAPA could be abusing the people. That's why I'm telling people now. Ask the people who come in to run what plan they have to deal with WAPA. Somebody has to got something because WAPA just raping the people of the Virgin Islands, actually raping us.
But watch this here, Coach. It seems like all of the problems stem from one or two sources: management and the board.
I agree.
So then, are you telling me there is nothing we can do about that?
Listen, the incompetence in WAPA is so great. Now they got a few brilliant people, but they got a lot of incompetent people working for WAPA. Incompetent. And I could justify what I say by their action. So I just don't want to say and can't justify what I am saying. It is when they could write a letter to a senior citizen tell her she needs to move her meter because we got a dog there and ain't no dog. And they put that she must get a plumber to do it in writing. That's incompetent. When WAPA could have had a contract move from 80 million to add another 80 million and nobody said nothing. WAPA put these street light up in Christian said down. About work at hundreds of thousands of dollars. They say they were taking the light off the pole. And if when they put an on them light, you can't see a foot. WAPA pay for the smart meter them $12 million. They give a company. The meter them ain't work. They ain't went to retrieve none of the money. And went back right now and gave the same company $30 million for new meters. Something here wrong, where the accountability is.
Coach Foy, let me share this with you and those listening and viewing. Somebody shared a TikTok reel with me by this guy, Brian Loudon or something like that.
Yes.
And in that, I think I saved it because I didn't have time to really digest the entire thing. I want to go back to it. But he gives you an assessment where he shows you that WAPA's lack of reliable service and consistent service has impacted healthcare in the territory to the point where he mentions an approximate number of persons who have died as a result of that.
That's true. That's fact.
You imagine that? And when I saw this, I said, no, man, I need to take some time to look at I tell you, I think I saved it, because I want to get back to it to see and hear what this guy is saying. This is crazy.
I tell you, the $2.7 million they enter into a contract for the generator for St. John in 2019. The press release went out August 2019. We're in 2026.
Wow.
I tell you, when I read this thing, I can't believe it.
Wow.
2026, 2019. And St. John ain't got a generator.
is
So
crazy.
they're telling us the little man come from the sky and down with the generator then?
Yo,
So where the 2.7 million is?
this is crazy.
Did what
Yeah.
Taylor get paid? Did Wapa take the money and do something else with it? In fraud, the people sent out a hefty press release about these generators for St. John. And why St. John people suffering today? And nobody held accountable. Nobody.
This is crazy. Coach, for you remember that we had an incident where some $2 million went missing from WAPA, and I don't think up to now we've not heard anything in terms of what happened, who got the money.
That's mom in the ward. That's why I tell you, no mom in the ward. So that's why I tell people, when I had to tell the lady commander on another show, they tell her glass and her meter is cloudy, so they can't read the meter. But they increase her bill. Then they tell her, she go back to them, when they increase the bill, they tell her, well, your gate lock. The lady say, are you home all day? My gate is never locked. One lock and one open. I meet the lady who said they tell her, they send her a bill. She showed me the bill, $2,353. They tell her her meter wasn't working since 2024. How you gonna send me a bill for 2,000 and change and telling me the reason is because my meter ain't work since 2024? That happened last week, Thursday. These are facts. And who does the lady go to? Where is the accountability?
Well, there is a line of redress, but I don't know how effective it is because the PSC is supposed to look into these complaints and to find out what is going on, but I don't know if the PSC ever does anything to resolve these things.
Yes, PSC does work. That's why I sent a lady there. I sent her there last week.
Okay.
I said I go to PSC.
All right.
Because they had to be estimating this woman belly. And meter ain't working.
Yeah, something is radically wrong.
The last thing you can estimate for the 90 days.
Something is radically wrong.
Estimating for years. Since 2024, the woman meter ain't working. And they send our bill trying to collect it now at $2,353 in change. These people need to go to jail. There's a shade down.
And I want people to understand, Coach Foy, as I mentioned earlier, I want to repeat again. I have nothing against the people who work at WAPA. I'm not pointing a finger at anyone specifically to say that this is the person responsible. I'm simply saying that we have a long line of wrong things happening with that utility, and there needs to be a thorough investigation, perhaps something forensic, I don't know what, to find out exactly what is wrong with management and the actions of the board, and to bring about corrective measure. That's what I'm saying.
Well, listen to this, Baptiste, then again now. In St. Thomas, the bad 4-watt driller unit, the 4-watt driller unit can produce what one, I think it's unit 23, producing what one generator producing, the 4 can do it. So every time that one go down, pull the 4 down with it. Now you think the person who signed them generator, the engineer, should be to work? He should be terminated, and you say you're pointing finger? Somebody has to sign them generator.
Yeah.
To say this is what we are buying, this is the megawatt. But you buying generator that ain't producing the megawatt that you have now.
Mm-hmm.
Or you calculate a growth increase.
Yeah.
They're producing less. And these we just still have the job. How that work?
Now whilst I say I'm not pointing fingers, once we can identify the person, we gotta point the finger. Once we identify the culprit, we point fingers.
You have to point finger.
Yeah.
Because that is stupidity and ignorance.
Yeah, I agree.
You want to put a generator for your house.
Yeah.
That can't push your house. Anyway, thank you for the time. Nice talking to you. Have a good day. Hope that the people and we come demand
that
the people are going to elect have some plan for WAPA to get it from raping the people. Have a good day. Thanks for the day.
All right. Thanks for calling and sharing. Bye. Wow. I don't know, man. I wanted to get into a bit of a discussion here in terms of actions and actions that I took specifically to address the WAPA situation and how and all the requirements, what I had in there in terms of, benefits coming back to the people of the territory. But that was derailed. And it was derailed by operatives from behind the scenes, under the covers, who understand the importance of keeping that cash cow in place to benefit special interest parties. I didn't know that at the time. I found out later. And trust me, man, all of these things we're talking about in terms of what has failed to materialize on the island of St. Croix, what happened under the Turnbull administration, what transpired under the MAP administration, what has transpired under this administration and all administrations, and the conflicts that come into play in terms of, particular individuals, embedded people who, by and large, a number of them are in the St. Thomas St. John district, who just don't want to see certain things happen on St. Croix. And so they move into place to stop it from happening. We got to be realistic. And that's not the rank and file Saint-Thomian doing that. But I'm saying that there are certain people. It's just like when I hear what Brother Mario sometimes speak about moves that were made in the past to bring the political structure in a state of dysfunction, if I may. It's not all of St. Thomas doing that, but certain people who want to achieve certain goals move, and they know who they can get to work in collaboration with them to accomplish those things, and then they just stall progress for some. And I have to admit that sometimes some of us from this side of the aisles, we go along with them and mess up the whole thing. Somehow we need a re-engineering of the mindset on all levels so that we can right the ship and get things done. And I hate having to dive that deep to show where we have these functions deliberately being set off, but I'm compelled to do that sometimes. I'm compelled. And so I'm saying we need to review that, because people, man, sometimes you'd be surprised, something that's working perfectly well, that can benefit maybe folks here on St. Croix, and all of a sudden you see a collaboration of 2 or 3 individuals who come together and they begin to spread the influence, spread the tentacles. And next thing, they have a whole group of individuals working with them to mess up something, to stop something from going forward. It's crazy. St. Croix, look at the racetrack. Look at the Paul E. Joseph Stadium, among other things. And ask yourself the question, why has these things stalled for such a long period of time? Makes no sense. I guarantee you that in the St. Thomas St. John district, it would not happen. Case in point, see how the St. Thomas racetrack is up and running. Maybe lots of things ought to be questioned about the operations, but it's up and running. And look at the racetrack here on St. Croix. And like I said, Paul E. Joseph Stadium and others. It's crazy. It's about time we wake up. It's about time we wake up, as it is now time for me to walk out. So we've come full circle. I want to thank those who called and participated. Until the next week, the same time, the same place, you guys stay safe, give thanks, and stop being complacent. Get up and move. Take action. Bye.
I was listening to